Hello everyone, and welcome to the Frontline Gaming Community's Champions Draft Series Season 5 recap for the Vanguard League. Lots of action, lots of drama, and lots of fun when it comes to the Vanguard League as we get into the Champ 2 through Champ 3 action for the entirety of Season 5. A few different changes. We have general managers, we have franchises, and of course, we have current versus historical ranks, which created a whole bunch of fun for the entirety of our 4-week regular season. But first, let's talk about the changes. Each one of our leagues, Challenger, Vanguard, and Champion, were all combined into franchises under each one of our FLG teams. Avalanche, Bandits, Casuals, Drakes, so on and so forth, and of course a new one made Spartans. But they were all combined from the top on down to be able to invite some collaboration and coordination between players as well as captains and their new general managers. General managers being the overall creators and crafters of each one of their teams. They picked the captains and them were able to pick the draftees, and of course, then they picked the overall teams. Then we also went into current versus doing historical ranks like we're used to. In each one of our previous seasons 1 through 4, we utilized historical ranks, which was your max rank in any other season to depict which season you would be in. This one, we decided, you know what? There's been a lot of changes since last time we did this, so why not allow people to use their current ranks? That created some chaos and, of course, a little bit of drama, but overall kind of narrowed down the competition so that both the Vanguard and the Champion Leagues were just that much closer. And of course, we have our overall draft order and our draftees that came out of the draft, all 130 players that were able to participate this season, to include captains as well as general managers, made for a very fun event. For the Vanguard League, we had both the Bandits and the Tsunami decided to use a franchise token. The way that franchise tokens work is that a captain that was on a team a previous season is able to pick up a player that they had on their previous roster, but only one time, so 2 successive seasons together. So for the Bandits, it was Harry Gary, who was still captain, and he was able to pick up Marksman. They work well together and were a very good team. Tsunami, of course, led by both their general manager and captain in the Vanguard League of J-Rod, he was able to pick up SV Elite. Some say that this was a curious pick because he basically used his first round draft pick on SV Elite, who ended up being a darn good player. But that means the first overall draftee was from the Thunderbirds franchise, and they picked up Just Staying Alive, who ended up being a very pinnacle part of their entire squad. Moving on from preseason onward to week 0, which was a brand new concept to the season, we invited teams to be able to play in matches that didn't count towards their overall regular season record and ultimately towards their postseason seeding, and was just more of a coordinated effort for practice and scrims to see who would be in which division. Since there's 10 teams in the Vanguard League, there would be 2 divisions of 5. So we matched up people based on power rankings that we determined based on the results of the draft. And of course, actually surprisingly so, the number 1 seeding that came out of the entirety of the Vanguard League matches ended up being the Avalanche, which, when we talk about it later, is very, very surprising indeed. And of course, all the action had to start in week number 1. The Casuals and the Spartans both started in a slump at 0-2, and the mob went to the dojo, slapped around their sensei, and doled out the ninjas a big loss and a negative 14 goal differential, able to average about 5 goals per game. Wiping away the slate of all their losses from Season 4, the Tsunami were able to start week 1 2-0, surprising everyone out the gate. And of course, with all that action, none of it stopped as we went into post-week 1 with the trade system now wide open. The commissioner was in full action as he was coordinating between both captains and general managers into who would go to which team. Several requests were denied by both the Avalanche and the mob as they were already trying to make their already good teams even stronger. But the Knights ended up picking up Vokes, and from that point forward, didn't lose a single game all the way through the rest of the regular season. And of course, the Spartans, who started off 0-2, were able to pick up a key trade in Murky. The Casuals, just as well, were able to pick up Arvo. And those trades need to be remembered as they define the rest of this season. We continue into the middle of the season, going into week number 2. The Casuals continue to slump as they get reverse swept by the Thunderbirds, who improve to 3-1. The Mob take their first loss of the season to the Bandits, and of course, the Tsunami go right back to their old ways, declining to 2-2 in a 6-game losing streak. The only trade of week number 2 for the Vanguard League ended up being Fly Parker for Swanky, who continued to improve their roster and make it that much stronger through their current winning streak. We move into the second half of the season into week number 3. The Bandits reverse sweep the Avalanche, making them decline down to 2-2. The Casuals have a very good showing against the Mob, but still just aren't able to take it to them to get their first match win, taking it 3-1. And T-Man ended up being a very, very good sub for them, who later gets traded for through the Mob as they release Savior Kittens out into the free agency. And then, of course, the Nova were statistically eliminated from the playoffs in this particular week, which made the playoff scene just that much more narrow because there's only 2 that were going to get eliminated completely from postseason action. Week 4, the end of the regular season, ended up being much bigger than any other season. We had plenty of drama as all these teams and all these franchises were trying to lock in their playoff seeds and positions going into the postseason. And there was plenty of action to have. The Spartans were able to beat the Ninjas to flip seeds 4 and 5, forcing the Ninjas into the top seed of the Eliminator. The Casuals were able to smash expectations by actually getting 2 match wins. Your general manager right here for the Casuals, pretty darn pleased. And they were able to just hope and pray that the Mob would do something special for them as they still had to play against the Avalanche. The Avalanche, they got 3-0 swept by the Mob, which ended up eliminating them from the playoffs and giving the Casuals the number 8 seed heading into the Eliminator as well. And one final spot was locked in as the Tsunami were finally able to get one more match win. They started the season 2-0, went on a 3-match losing streak, and were able to get their very last one to lock in the number 7 seed just ahead of the Casuals. However, the exposure of the admin team on the Spartans was real and everyone wanted to know about it. Chef Blazer, who was actually a Spartamos, and Murky, who was actually Bantho, had been working with Nugs, all 3 being admins for the FLG, ended up giving their apologies for hiding their identities. However, just like what had happened in the Challenger League, they were well within their rights, the same rank that they needed to be for the Vanguard League, and everyone said, you know what, bring it on, we'll see you in the postseason. Finally, we're in the postseason for the Vanguard League. Day 1 was just as eventful as the entire regular season, as we had both the Casuals and the Tsunami sweep over the Ninjas and the Thunderbirds to make their way out of the Eliminator, and they both made the main bracket. However, the Casuals had a much tougher run-in as they met the Spartans, and the Spartans forced them to the lower side of the bracket immediately following the Eliminator for the Spartans to improve and move on to the semifinals. The Tsunami, they rode the tide that is Link's G, and they're able to utilize his performance to get all the way to a guaranteed performance against the Spartans in the winners final for day number 2. This means that both the number 1 seed of the Mob and the number 2 seed of the Knights were going to be playing in the lower elimination bouts in the semifinals for the bracket. Day 2 of the Vanguard League playoffs proved to be even more historical than any playoff that any FLG season had seen. The Spartans proved too much for the Tsunami, defeating them and moving on to the grand finals, which made the Tsunami have to wait on those lower bouts to see who they would play, to see if they would get another chance at playing against the Spartans. The Casuals were able to beat the number 1 seed in the Mob and the number 2 seed in the Knights consecutively to then go and face against the Tsunami, who they then defeated and also moved on to play against the Spartans. The number 8 seed has never moved on to the grand finals this far in an FLG bracket, and we were able to see a bracket reset. Ultimately, though, the Spartans just proved that they had the resilience and that championship try-hard mentality to win it all, going 4-2 in their final Game 6 competition against an amazing Casuals team. I couldn't have been prouder as a general manager. The Casuals, on that day, were able to play 27 games in a row, which at that time was an FLG record for any team. But ultimately, the grand final championship for the Vanguard League Season 5 Champions Draft Series was the brand new franchise, the Spartans, led by their general manager, Espartamos, and their captain, Nugs. This has been the Season 5 recap for the Vanguard League. Please make sure you look at our next video. It's going to be all about the recap for the Champion League.